In a world like ours, torn by violence, war, corruption, and indifference, it is striking that Psalm 94 could have been written yesterday. In our contemporary world, we see innocents harmed, evildoers prosper, and the poor ignored. The psalmist in Psalm 94, writing years ago, sees the arrogant crushing the people, the widow and the foreigner oppressed, the innocent slain. In Ireland this week, hearts reeled, raced, and felt ravaged as we learnt about a murder-suicide involving a dad and his 5-year-old daughter in Dublin. This was followed by news of 3 members of the same family who were violently murdered in their own home in a quiet rural community in County Louth. For weeks like this, American-Mexican psychologist and poet Clarissa Pinkola Estes helps us with these healing words. Do not lose heart. We were made for these times. One of the most calming and powerful actions you can do to intervene in a stormy world is to stand up and show your soul. In our first reading, Habakkuk cries out, "How long, O Lord?" Habakkuk's voice is not ancient, it is timeless. His cry echoes today in our politics, in our suffering, in the headlines we receive, and in the aching spaces of our hearts. Habakkuk's lament is raw. He wrestles with God. He sees injustice and suffering, and God seems silent. Yet God encourages Habakkuk to wait, to write, and to trust. Theologian Walter Brueggemann calls this prophetic waiting, and reasons that the prophetic task is to hold the grief and hope together, to speak honestly and yet not surrender the future. Jesus, in this weekend's passage from Luke, does not say we need massive, unwavering belief. Rather, he asserts that faith the size of a mustard seed is enough. Why? Because the power lies not in the size, but in the direction of our trust, whom we place it in. Consequentially, Jesus offers the image of a mustard seed, tiny, unimpressive, easily overlooked, yet holding within it life-transforming potential. Henry Nouwen impressively writes, "Faith is a radical trust in God, a trust that does not need proof or guarantees. Even a small flicker of trust, like a mustard seed, contains transformative power, not because of the size of our belief, but the greatness of the one we believe in." A seed grows invisibly at first, underground, in silence. This speaks to the nature of real transformation, slow, patient, often unseen. Rainer Maria Rilke captures this, declaring everything is gestation, and then bringing forth, patience is everything. The truth is that the seed grows slowly. So does healing. So does character. So does the kingdom. The mustard seed calls us to trust the process, not just the outcome. Civil rights activist James Baldwin helps us by reasoning, not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. Facing what is broken in our lives, however small, the first step is like planting a seed. Growth begins with courageous beginnings. Jesus' mustard seed metaphor teaches that we don't need to change the world today. We just need to plant a seed. We don't need heroic faith, just real trust. We don't need applause, just roots. Faith does not have to be big to be real. It doesn't have to be loud, confident, or impressive. It just must be alive. We don't need to know precisely what is happening or exactly where it is all going. What we need is to recognize the possibilities and challenges and to go on doing the best we can in faith. Pope Francis helpfully advised, faith is not a light which scatters all our darkness, but a lamp which guides our steps in the night. Our scriptures this weekend reassure us that it's okay to question God, but urges us at the same time not to walk away. Don't confuse God's silence with absence. God may be working in ways we can't yet see. As Brené Brown says, faith is a place of mystery, where we find the courage to believe in what we cannot see and the strength to let go of our fear of uncertainty. In St. Paul's letter to Timothy, our second reading, Paul describes a fire that has grown dim, glowing coals, but little flame. Timothy is a young leader. Timothy's Christian community faces persecution. Paul is imprisoned, likely nearing the end of his life. Paul encourages boldness, faithfulness, and spiritual courage. Paul asserts that we were entrusted with a treasure, one that should not be hidden, but lived. Faith, therefore, is not about having all the answers, but about staying in love with God, even in unanswered questions. There is no doubt but that acts of violence, death, and tragedy test us. They can shake foundations. They can provoke fear, cynicism, despair. But faith holds something else, a promise, a presence, a future. Faith is not the denial of pain, but the refusal to be overwhelmed by it alone. Our weekend scriptures help us to move from complaint to confidence. Psalm 94, for example, is not quiet comfort, but rather a resilient faith in a broken world. It teaches us that even when the world shakes, God is our stronghold. Even when evil seems to win, the Lord sees and will act. And it reassures us that when we are slipping, His steadfast love will hold us up. Amen.